Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Kill Team for the channel. Thank you for the support on the viewer verdict. Those of you that have watched it, at the point of recording it hasn't quite gone into the algorithm yet, so unfortunately I haven't seen that much feedback regarding rules, but did catch a few things that we'll discuss as we go over both sides again, using the Angels of Death and the Plague Marines from the starter set on the proper Vulcus board and with the Vulcus train more evenly distributed on both sides in terms of both sides have heavy and light vantage points, etc. So cover will not be as accidentally one-sided as it was last time. If you want a full rundown of what Kill Team is, go see the viewer verdict because we spent like the first 10 minutes going over that. We're just going to jump in with some minor corrections and get started today. So here is the Angels of Death, more or less the same setup as last time, just with a couple of changes to the operatives selected. And as far as corrections go from last time, forgot that the Space Marine Captain there, who is the leader again, has a rule where once per game he can ignore damage from a normal die, so that could have made him stay alive in the last game if it had been remembered. Bit rough, there you go. He's been joined by the Eliminator Sniper just because the Sniper seems so good. This was an Intercessor, an Assault Intercessor last time. This time he is an Assault Intercessor Grenadier. The only difference is he has free grenades and he throws them at +1 to their hit stats, so why not? Speaking of which, this is an Intercessor Gunner, which is essentially an Intercessor Warrior with an auxiliary grenade launcher for free, and since he's modelled with throwing one from his robot arm, that's who we're going to count him as. And then we have two bog standard Intercessor Warriors, this time both looking correct, not looking like a sergeant. They're just bog standard bread and butter, and once again they're just equipped with bolt rifles. This time, which we did not do last time, we are taking faction equipment and using command points for strategic gambits and firefight ploys, etc. And hopefully we're going to actually remember the chapter tactics chosen this time, because did not last time. It's Hardy and Sharpshooter. Hardy just means when you're being shot, defense dice of 5+ are crits. And Sharpshooter means that in a turn in which you haven't charged, fallen back, repositioned, you have the severe weapon roll. So if you don't roll any crits, you get a crit. Or you can turn a normal into a crit, I think is the wording offhand. Faction equipment wise, you get to pick 4 bits of equipment to bring into a game of Kill Team. There's a universal equipment list, some of which we're about to talk about, that any faction can take from, and then you have faction specific. So the Angels of Death are taking 2 faction specifics. Purity Seals, which just means that once per turn, if one of them is being shot, is fighting or retaliating, if you have 2 or more fails, you can discount one of them to retain the other as a normal success. Chapter Reliquaries is you can use the Wrath of Vengeance Firefight Ploy for 0 CP, if the friendly operative you're using has an engage order. We'll cover that if and when it happens. It's to do with fighting in close combat. From Universal Equipment, they are taking 2 crack grenades. One choice of grenades gets 2 of the selected grenade. And they're also taking 2 light barricades that provide light cover and get set up as part of deployment. So they'll be on the table once we're ready to play. I think that about covers everything. Hopefully we'll remember as much as we can onto the other side. So the Plague Marines are basically the same setup as last time, except the bog standard Plague Marine has been swapped out for the Malignant Plague Caster, the one that's doing all the casting at the back there. So he has psychic powers as his basic attacks, and also he has a 1 AP action he can do to cast psychic power, I believe it is, and he can cast 2 psychic powers in 1 turn if he is able and willing, same as with the rest of the Strates rule for firing bolt weapons or fighting twice in close combat, etc. In terms of things to correct from last time, did forget that the champion, if someone who is poisoned is wounded within a certain range, I've forgotten offhand what the range is, he can actually heal up to 3 wounds per turn, so per turning point, so that might have kept him alive a little bit longer in that last game, so we'll certainly try and remember that. Anyway, they are taking, so I cheat by looking at the app, all the faction equipment from their own faction. So they're taking Plague Bells, which means they don't need to worry about injured, which is another thing that I think got overlooked a couple of times last time, when your stats are diminished if you're below half health. But not going to matter for the Plague Marines this time, because they are hearing the chimes of Nurgle's bells, so they don't care. They're taking Blight Grenades, which give them access to the Blight Grenades that the Grenadier for them has by default. They have the Poison rule, so they really want to spread that poison around. They have Plague Rounds on that note, so all of their bolt guns, bolt pistols, have poison and severe, so they can cause the poison to start going on for chip damage, and severe we just talked about as well. And then finally they have poison vents, so if an enemy operative who is poisoned activates within 3 inches of any of them, they take D3 damage from the poison instead of the flat 1. So that seems really good, and I think that about covers everything as far as definite mistakes from last time. Beyond cover just not being in their favour, it was literally the first time we're playing the game, so yeah, the importance of cover and staying concealed until things are ready to happen is much more apparent now. So anyway, we're going to get set up with set deployments from the starter book again, an alternative op it's called. It kind of incorporates a crit op and a kill op together, so we're not quite getting the full experience of having the tac op included and picking one as your primary, which you would do in a standard 3rd edition game of Kill Team, but it's kind of just easing us in, and we are using an alternative deployment type as well with alternative placements for the objectives. But we'll get all that set up, including the barricades for the Space Marines, and be back after this quick word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And we are back with both sides set up. We are using the arena setup from the starter book. It's the third alternative, or rather it's the second alternative, which makes it the third possible layout it suggests. Essentially, the deployment side for each team, with the Angels of Death being closest to camera, Plague Marines over there, 7.5 inch in, and then 7.5 up, and then that's your little box for your deployment zone. Just realised forgot to put down the barricades for the Space Marines, so those will be done in a second. But either way, for the setup there is 3 equally spaced out objectives across the middle line of the map. You can obviously see objective 2. Objective 1 is over here, and objective 3 is down here. As I say, basically evenly split, maybe like 3 inches in from each table edge. We'll obviously see them better as we start playing and get different angles, but that's where they are. And we're going to be playing the alternative op called Loot. It gives access to the 1 AP action to loot an objective. So you spend 1 AP and you count the objective as being looted, and the methods for scoring victory points this time is players receive 1 victory point every time they slay an enemy operative, so that's essentially the kill op. Players receive 1 victory point at the end of the game if they have slain more enemy operatives than the opponent, and players receive 1 victory point every time they use the loot action. However, you can't perform the loot action if it's the first turning point, or while you're within the control range of an enemy, or if the objective marker has already been looted during that turn. So I think that covers every stipulation, and with that we are ready to begin. Forgot to mention who's even going first. It is the Angels of Death, but as I say, we've got to set up those barricades first. Slightly different angle just to see where some of the Plague Marines are. 3 of them are cramped inside this building, and the 2 barricades have been set up there. I think they have to be set up within what is classed as your drop zone. If it's your actual table half, then that's done wrong, but they wouldn't really be placed anywhere else if it was the entirety of the table half anyway. So that about covers it. With that, you would have the opportunity to start spending some of the CP you start the game with. Both sides get 2 when the game begins, and then thereafter is 1 at the start of every turning point, or 2 if you don't have initiative. And you do get the opportunity before the round or turning point starts to spend on any strategic ploys you want, but neither side is spending to start the game with. So the Eliminator Sniper got the game started, and he can retain his conceal status and still shoot that sniper rifle of his. And this is something I think we messed up a couple of times last time, the difference between being in cover, being obscured, and whether or not you can be targeted with a conceal order. So he did end up shooting at the Plague Marine Grenadier, who he basically has a straight line of sight to, unfortunately for them, because they were at the side of the building there. And for the conceal to kick in, there has to be intervening terrain within their control range, and there isn't. There is terrain blocking his line of sight partially, the edge of this rubble here, which is classed as a small ruin, which is heavy terrain according to how it classifies all the Volkist terrain in the rulebook. So that does mean he's obscured, but I think that means he can still be shot. If that is wrong, please explain why. Because it seems like that's the case, because that's not in his control range, but it is obscuring him, and otherwise it's a direct line of sight, so there's no other terrain in the way, so I don't think the conceal order is applying. So we rolled out 2 mortis rounds. The second shot takes up the rest of his AP, because it costs 2 AP to fire the sniper again a second time, and he did pretty well. Because of the intervening heavy terrain though, that means 1 success had to get discarded each time, and no dice could be counted as crits. Crits counted as normal hits. The Plague Marine would have died if that was not the case. He did 8 damage through, however disgustingly resilient, took some damage off of that and brought it down to... it was 9, brought it down to 8 actually. So he has 6 wounds remaining and is already injured. But that's the Eliminator Sniper's entire turn. Again, hopefully that was done correctly, because there is a difference between, well, how obscure counts 1 to be selected as a target, what obscuring is, and what cover is. So hopefully all that was done correctly. Piercing was on the sniper rifle as well, which I presume still applied on the mortis rounds. So, annoyingly, we got the game started with something that we're questioning slightly, but that's the Eliminator Sniper for you. So the first activation for the Plague Marines was the one armed with that lovely Flail of Corruption that actually only has 2 of its flail bits and 1 nurgling on it. Bit awkward to get an angle on, but he started hidden in that big heavy terrain building or ruin on your left there, along with the Malignant Plaguecaster and the Standard Bearer. He moved, and there is a door facing out into the middle of the street. Lost an inch for going through the door, and then he dashed and ended up where you can see him there, and still keeping his conceal order. Technically has 1 AP unused, but has nothing else to do with it, and is just hiding, kind of staking his claim to objective number 3. Well, as it turns out, the Plague Marines just keep on stepping on landmines, figuratively. But from where the fighter, is his official name, the Plague Marine Fighter, the one with the Flail of Contagion, ended his turn, he is in perfect line of sight of this Intercessor Warrior right here, who went on engage in order to just take some pot shots at him from the window. There is no terrain in the way, so the Plague Marine was a valid target despite having the conceal order, and he shot that bolt rifle twice. The first barrage of hits with piercing on crits managed to do 6 damage, reduced down to 5 by the Disgustingly Resilient. The second set of shots he fired at him were fully blocked, so not super terrible. The Plague Marine Fighter is down to 9 wounds remaining. Well, hoping to get a little bit of payback, the Plague Marine Bombardier activated and went on engage. Did a reposition to climb up onto the top of this ruin, which is 6 inches away from this Space Marine that's towards the camera, and within range to chuck a grenade. So he chucked a Blight Grenade, which is the ones from Taken Equipment, and unfortunately was not able to do any damage, so no poison either. Now he still has 1 APL left, so he's going to do a dash, which should be enough to get him back to the floor, so hopefully that's all within the rules. Again, a little hard to get a view on, but the Intercessor, what's he called again? Intercessor Gunner, even though the special thing about him is the auxiliary grenade launcher, but whatever. He activated, he had been hiding in that ruin underneath where the Eliminator Sniper is to the top right of your screen. He did a reposition, he did a dash, and that got him right behind the Plague Marine with the flail there. So, didn't throw a grenade at him, just shot him in the back with the Plague Rifle, and all said and done got 1 crit through for 4 damage, but it got reduced down to 3 from Disgustingly Resilient. So now that poor Plague Marine has 6 wounds left and is also injured, and we're actually using the correct tokens for injured this time, which is kind of like that red pointer you can just about see. Well, it was time for the stinky side to get a little bit of retribution. The Malignant Plaguecaster activated, who wasn't on the table last time. He did a move action, normally 4 inches though, because he had to get through the door, which takes an inch. He then did a reposition and is now standing on objective 3. Is it's much more fitting that he actually turn a little bit to face his target, because he went after the Intercessor Grenadier with one of his shooting attacks that is actually a psychic attack. It's Plague Wind, it's 6 dice, hitting on 3s for 2-3 split damage. Saturate, so ignores cover. Severe, so if you don't get any crits, so you get given a crit. Torrent 1 and Poison. So Torrent 1 I think just means if there was another person within an inch of him that was a valid target, you could also hit him. And also Poison, so actually he took damage. Boy did he take damage. So he is poisoned as well, so we'll just use the grey skulls like we did last time to show who is poisoned. But anyway, he got a crit and 4 normal hits through against a saving roll that was all 2s. And that's especially bad because if he'd had just 1 normal success, he could have spent a command point on Transhuman Physiology to turn that into a crit and avoid 3 of the damage, which would have been quite nice. Such as it is though, if we just pan down a little bit, that poor Intercessor Grenadier has got 3 wounds left, and, oh sorry, that's the Intercessor Gunner rather, has 3 wounds left, is injured, and is poisoned, and is in a really bad way. So the actual Assault Intercessor Grenadier activated, the one who I kept confusing with the Gunner, activated. They were down here. They took an engage order though, because after a reposition they could do a charge to get into combat with the heavily wounded Plague Marine Fighter, hoping to just smite him down before the hitbacks could be too aggressive. And the dice have just been finished getting resolved. You can just about see the pile down here. The Plague Marine had a crit as a result of severe plus 1 normal hit, keeping in mind he's injured, so his hit chance was one worse. The Assault Intercessor Grenadiers roll was pretty bad. Ended up using both CP for rerolls and still only ended up with, I think, 4 normal hits in total, one of which was discarded when the crit was sent against him because the Plague Marine Fighter has shock, which takes away a normal hit as a result of the shock of being smacked by the Nurgling hanging from his weapon, probably. So first of all, a hit was resolved and no Disgustingly Resilient kicked in, so that was 3 damage, leaving the fighter on 3. Then the crit got resolved against the Assault Intercessor. Again, that takes away one of his surviving normal hits, leaving him with just 1. Also dealt him a very hefty 5 damage plus poison. Then he resolved another hit against him, which is the last 3 remaining wounds, and the Disgustingly Resilient rule was failed. Now, I believe a strategic gambit or firefight ploy is about to be used in retaliation for all this, but that is the fighter dead. The Intercessor is poisoned and has 5 wounds. Yeah, so Poisonous Demise was used as a firefight ploy, costs 1 command point because everything does unless otherwise stated in 3rd edition, I believe. And it's essentially just you explode in a big poisonous bubble. When you die, it poisons all enemy operatives visible to and within 3 inches of you, and then deals 1 damage to them. So the Assault Intercessor Grenadier ended up taking 6 damage in total instead of just the 5 from the blow that got through. But also that heavily wounded Intercessor Gunner that I kept confusing with the Grenadier also took a wound because he was within 3. And he was already poisoned as well, so it's just 1 more damage, but that leaves him on 2 wounds. But that is now the first fatality for the Plague Marines as their fighter goes away. The Icon Bearer activated for the Plague Marines. He was also inside this heavy terrain. He moved up to 4, so it just got him through the door, -1 because he's going through the door. And then he fired his bolt pistol twice. First shot was at this guy, the heavily wounded Intercessor Gunner. Just needed 1 normal hit to get through, and he did. So that is the last 2 wounds gone to that 3 damage. The other shot was on the person you can't see from this angle, but it is there. Him, and a lot of damage got through to him. I think that was a crit and a normal hit. He had to use 2 normal saves to get rid of a crit against him, and that has left him on 1 health remaining, 1 wound remaining. So although the Icon Bearer is now in a perfect position to get shot at, he did good work there, and that's the first casualty for the Angels of Death. Over this end of the table, the other Intercessor were activated who had been hiding inside this building below the other one. There is a door against this wall down here. He went through it, he did a reposition, and has ended in control range of Objective 1. Doesn't score this round, obviously, but is just getting in position. Kept his conceal order even though he's in the middle of the street, so we'll see what happens. The Plague Marine Heavy Gunner activated, took an engage order, and did reposition 5 inches here, which put that poor wounded Assault Intercessor Grenadier within his 7-inch range of that Plague Spear. 5 dice hitting on 2s, 3/3 damage split, so it doesn't really matter if it's a crit or not, but it does have severe poison, doesn't matter. All said and done, the Sabre was actually pretty good, but 1 normal hit got through for 3 damage, and no CP to do anything about that, so that is the Plague Marines very much controlling that side of the board, at least for now. Last activation of the first turning point for the Angels of Death was the Captain, who moved behind that light barricade and shot his plasma pistol into the Heavy Gunner, and only managed to get 1 hit through. The dice are not favouring the Space Marines this time, and that's, well, no Disgustingly Resilient, so it did do the full 3 damage, but yeah, the Heavy Gunner's still got 11 wounds left, so they're a little bit behind on the damage scale now. And now it is over to the Plague Marine Captain, I think, to take us to the end of the round proper. I take back what I said about the dice just being bad to the Space Marines, because the Plague Marine Champion activated. I keep calling him a captain. He's a champion, that's better than a captain, presumably. He activated, he did a reposition, he did a dash, and then he shot his plasma pistol, exact same stats as the one on the Space Marine Captain, into this Intercessor Warrior. He's in the open, so obscured, or being concealed rather, doesn't matter. And he whiffed. He whiffed entirely. Sorry, no, he had 1 normal roll, which was saved. So, yeah, the dice are not in his favour. Maybe it's just plasma pistols in general. And that takes us to the end of the first turning point. At the end of turning point 1, the Space Marines, aka Angels of Death, have lost 2 of their number, the Assault Intercessor Grenadier and the Intercessor Gunner, so all those extra grenades just gone. And that means 2 victory points to the Plague Marines, and 1 Plague Marine has died, so that's 1 victory point to the Angels of Death. The bonus victory point for having killed more is only at the end of the game, and the looting objectives were not activated until now. So from turning point 2 onwards, each one of those objectives can be looted once per turning point, and only if you don't have an enemy operative within your control range. So you have to grab them up quick. At the top of turning point 2, the Angels of Death won the roll-off, so they get 1 less CP, but they're absolutely going first because they need their sniper to blow somebody's head off. And so to get turning point 2 started, the Eliminator Sniper was back on form. If only his second set of shooting was his first set, he then could have targeted someone else. His first set of shooting wasn't super great, it was okay, going both times into the heavy gunner there, so wide open. Got him down to 4 wounds as is marked there after his first barrage. His second set of shots was 2 crits and 2 hits, and that means the devastating damage that just goes straight through from the crits is 6, so already enough, even if it came down from Disgustingly Resilient. Didn't get an answer on whether you apply Disgustingly Resilient to true damage from things like Devastating, but in this instance, even if it did apply, it would get brought down to a maximum of 4, so that is him out of there. There you go. So, evening things up a little bit at least. The Eliminator Sniper back on form, and he's got his prime set of targets as long as he doesn't get interrupted. First activation for the Plague Marines was a Plague Marine champion who engaged with the Intercessor Warrior over here, Objective 1. Charge action is the first APL, second is the fight itself. He got 2 crits, 2 hits versus 2 crits and a hit for just using fists. It's 4 attacks for him, but 1 was a whiff. All whiffs have been removed. So we were just talking this through, so that is a crit being resolved for 5 damage. A crit is being resolved for 4 damage. We'll see if that comes down via Disgustingly Resilient afterwards, because there's no hope of the Intercessor Warrior killing the champion out of this. This crit is another 5 damage, so that's 10 of his 14. This crit is another 4 damage, and then he's dead from the bog standard damage from that Plague Sword, which is 4, because that's 5, 5, 4, so that's 14 wounds, and that is him done with that result. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't a better way to resolve that anyway. Like, for instance, if that crit had been used to counter that crit, it would have been 2 normal hits through for 8 damage, which still would have added up to enough. So, either way, let's just roll for the 2 Disgustingly Resilients for those crits that got through, and neither one worked. So it was a full 10 damage back, or sorry, 8 damage, 2 sets of 4. So, still rough, but managed to take a Space Marine from a full health to dead in 1 round of combat. He has 1 APL left as well, so he is going to loot that objective. Well, the Intercessor Warrior up here just turned him for dramatic effect, but you can see out both these windows here. Activated because, hey, he has that champion in his eyes, so why not shoot him? And he did. He managed to, all said and done, get 2 normal hits through. Disgustingly Resilient kicked in on 1 of them, bringing 6 damage down to 5, but that is precisely enough that the champion is champion no more. Now, do remember though, that can't be looted again this turn, so he can't really do anything else. He still has more APL left though, so he's going to shoot a second time, and we'll be back once that's resolved. So his other round of shooting from his bolt weapon from this window was at the Malignant Plaguecaster, because he seems more dangerous than the standard bear, or icon bear, sorry, that's what they're called these days. And he managed to get a crit and a hit through, both of which had their damage reduced by 1 from Disgustingly Resilient, leaving him on 9 of his originally 14 wounds, so 5 damage got through. The Malignant Plaguecaster activated. He did the loot action on Objective 3 there, then did a reposition hiding behind the building where you can see him. Then he used his last AP for Putrescent Vitality, and this is one of those things where it's different in every game. If a Psychic Power says you have to select a friendly operative visible to and within 3 of you, does that include yourself or not? It's a heal, so we are presuming that he is allowed to target himself because he can see himself and is within 3 of himself, but if that's wrong, point us to a rulebook page. So you roll 2 dice, if the result is 7, you heal 7 wounds. If the result is not 7, you heal wounds equal to the highest dice rolled, and he rolled a 6 and a 2, so he healed 6 and is going back to full health. So that's pretty awesome for him. Yeah, it turns out the Malignant Plaguecaster is really good. Last activation for the Angels of Death, barring any counteractions obviously, was the Captain moved to control range, looted the central point, so they got 1 this round, and then via the diagonal view here he can actually see the wounded Plague Marine that's under there, obscured those, so very rough trying to land a hit, and the only hit that got through was successfully saved. So now they're in a position where counteractions can happen at least, but remember it's once per operative, and you can choose to not activate a counteraction if you want to wait for a more opportune moment. Well, the icon bearer, who had been standing relatively close to the Malignant Plaguecaster round here, did a reposition, did a move, including going through the door, taking a conceal order by the way, and is hiding beneath the Eliminator Sniper because he would have words with him in the next turning point, it seems. No counteraction is happening off of this either. So that Plague Marine that was hiding has come out with a reposition and a dash, because he's injured. So, oh wait, no, they ignored injured, so he wouldn't have needed to use the reposition. Oh well, it doesn't matter. He chucked the other blight grenade they had and managed to do just a little bit of damage to the captain. Got him down to, what was that, 11? And he started at 15, so yeah, one crit got through from the blight grenade. It also means he's poisoned, and it does raise the question as to whether or not the poison proc kicks in on a counteract, because it just says when poisoned operative is activated, so presumably not on a counteraction. Again, that might be wrong, by all means point it out if it is, because the captain most definitely is counteracting and is going to shoot him in the face and try and kill him. And he only managed to do 2 damage in that round of attacking with the plasma pistol. I guess the captain has the faulty plasma pistol this time, although the Plague Marines one was also not super amazing. But either way, yeah, not enough to take him out, so hopefully they'll win initiative and get that sorted. But that is the end of Turning Point 2. And at the end of Turning Point 2, this is how the scores are standing. The Plague Marines are at 5, that's including all the kills and the looting, but there is no bonus point for most killed until the end of the game, as previously stated, and the Angels of Death have 4. So the Plague Marines are only ahead by 1, but they are in a pretty decent position, at least so far, and it'll depend who gets initiative. They'll all but secure a kill at the top of the next round, and probably a loot. So as we get set up for the next turning point, all the objectives are free now and can be looted again. So potentially, crucially, at the top of Turning Point 3, the penultimate turn, the Angels of Death have won the initiative roll and will be taking full advantage of this to murder the Plague Marines. So the Eliminator Sniper set about his work. The first shot into the Plague Marine down there with the grenade being thrown, and didn't put the damage down or anything like that, but managed to get a crit and 3 hits through, I think. Piercing took away one of his saves, and he rolled 2 1s with the others. So he's not even close enough to explode and do a little bit of extra chip damage. So there you go, that is a fatality. He then turned his attention to the Malignant Plaguecaster in the corner there, who is obscured so by heavy, because this is heavy, I think. So no crits and 1 automatic hit, or rather 1 hit automatically discarded. Still managed to do 1 bog standard hit through, which was brought down from 4 to 3 or 3 to 2. Oh sorry, no, it was 2 normal hits, sorry, but both of them did get reduced by Disgustingly Resilient. So only 4 damage there. So he is on 10 wounds, and as we saw last time, he can heal himself. Well, the Malignant Plaguecaster did a dash 3 inches. He looted for 1, scoring him a victory point, and then repositioned to hide behind there, and isn't healing himself this time. The Intercessor Warrior that had been up here watching from the windows dashed, repositioned down to here, and has looted. So that means both sides currently are at 6 victory points. Already last activation for the Plague Marines of the round. At the tail end of his game goes quick. He did a reposition up onto here to say, "Hello you smelly sniper, I have words with thee," and used his Plague Knife in combat. So he gets 5 attacks, 3+, 3-4 split with severe and poison, and the Eliminator Sniper just has his fists, but they're also 4 attacks, 3+, and a 3-4 split. So they're actually kind of even, and the dice to be resolved are down here, and the Icon Bearer is just going for the kill. So I think both sides are just punching each other and cutting each other. So that is a crit for 4, and then these are all just hits, and they're all just going through as well. So that is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the sniper has only 12 wounds in total, but you have to do it in order, so it would technically be resolve, 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 dead. This gets discarded. So that is 3 normal wounds worth of Disgustingly Resilient to see whether or not it's doing 9 damage or less. And 3 procs of it. So it's actually only doing 6 wounds to him, and that is the pesky sniper dealt with for a victory point. And already last activation for the Angels of Death, it was the captain who looted the central point for a victory point, then just did a reposition with a conceal order against the side of the building there. So technically he could be further back. Like he had a what do you call it? A dash he could have done just to make sure the icon bearer couldn't counteract, because yeah, you can't see any of his body. You can see his plasma pistol. I don't think that counts, or his power fist rather. So yeah, that's fine. So that already takes us to the end of the penultimate turning point. So the scores at the end of turning point 3 are completely even. Both sides have 7 victory points each. So it's all down to this last turn. Remember, there is a bonus point on offer for who has killed more. Currently is 4 casualties apiece? Yeah, I think so. So it's even Steven, so nobody's getting it as it stands right now, but there's obviously a chance for that to change in the final turning point. So on that note, let's just go straight into it. And as we start what I presume will be a very quick final turning point of the game, the Plague Marines have finally won initiative and they're taking it, even though no idea what they're going to do with it. I guess we'll see. It's slightly cowardly, but the icon bearer has taken a conceal order and dropped down to the lower floor of that building. The Angels of Death are going to get 2 out of the 3 objectives. The Malignant Plaguecaster can get 1, so it just comes down to him via 1 action and maybe a counter action potentially getting a kill on the captain, and that would actually give them more kills overall. So I think that's the chance. So over the far end of the table, the Intercessor Warrior activated, looted, and then has hidden himself and took a conceal order because he doesn't have any shooting he wants to do. So that is their 8th victory point. The Malignant Plaguecaster has walked himself out into the street. He has looted, giving them their 8th point as well. Then he cast that Putrescent Vitality and rolled a 6 and a 5, so has fully healed himself. Although it is quite cowardly, the captain could dash, loot for the winning victory point, that's their 9th, and then reposition back out of line of sight, so even if the Malignant Plaguecaster counteracted, he can't see anyone to attack them. Same for the Icon Bearer. So that takes us to the end of the game with Angels of Death victory by 1 point. So yeah, that is the end of the game, and it is by a single point because both sides killed the same amount of enemies, so neither side has a kill advantage, so that bonus victory point is forfeit. You can neither say, hey, both sides got it, or neither side got it. The result is the same. So by a single victory point, 9 playing 8, the Angels of Death have won. I felt like action was happening too quickly there. I know that sounds weird, but from every Kill Team Battle Report I've tried to research to learn about the nuances of the other kill teams and just the general flow of the game. First turns for a lot of people was just skulking about in conceal, but it feels like even if you're shooting at someone obscured, it's often just worth taking a shot, isn't it? I feel like there's some nuance I'm missing personally from staying concealed turn 1, so definitely open to hearing people's general approach to strategy in the game. I presume it's connected to the fact that the objective markers, I think without exception, are all inactive turn 1, so why are you bloodying your nose or the enemy's nose in a turn in which objectives can't be caught? But if you manage to get somebody real low or take them out at the top of turn 2 because of the damage you've done in turning point 1, that seems like a good advantage to me. So, I don't know. It could also just be because we are seeing 2 elite teams, they don't have a lot of bodies. Like, the weaker kill teams only have 2 APL per person, but they have like 10 or 11 or 12 bodies. So, their strategy is probably different. I imagine part of the reason these are the 2 starter set factions is because they are relatively both the same and simple to use. Hopefully remembered mostly everything. Definitely could have used the Wrath of Vengeance when the Assault Intercessor Grenadier charged the who did he charge? The fighter. The fighter. That definitely could have been something. Most of the command points for the Space Marines were used on rerolls to desperately try and win combats, which didn't work out super great, and the dice were not in their favour early on either. But they definitely could have, at the top of a turning point, used the strategy point combat doctrine, where you pick whether you're Devastator, Tactical, or Assault. So basically, are you within 6 inches of person you're shooting out of 6, or fighting in close combat? And it gives you the balance roll for rule, which gives you a reroll. So that's definitely something they could have done that was missed. I don't think Transhuman Physiology would have done that much. It lets you keep a normal success as a crit for the cost of a command point. But the Wrath of Vengeance, yeah, like I was saying, if you're fighting or counteracting, it's when you're counteracting, it lets you do 2 things instead of 1. So that might have been useful if remembered. There's a lot of little things to remember. I don't think the healing off of the poison mattered that time. Might have been... the captain, I think, was the only person who actually took damage from poison, and both times he wasn't within 3, so I don't think we forgot the D3 wounds thing there. And just so happens everybody else who got poisoned was dead before they got a chance to proc it. But anyway, that's enough rambling. There is a lot of little nuances that you just forget things as you play, but hopefully most of the core rules were followed. Did have a couple of questions as we went through though, so happy to hear answers regarding those, and input on general strategy as well. This will be available to channel members first, as a thank you for the extra support they're willing to show. If you'd like to become a channel member, you get perks like that, and other things as well you can look into. Or if you want to support the channel in a different way, just liking or commenting, sharing the video can certainly help. Or you can check out our channel sponsor. If you do it via the affiliate link, I get compensated, which helps keep the lights on and helps the videos keep coming. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.